Yo, what up, YouTube? Another one for the journal. The date is the 4th of November. Um, so, yeah, again, a little bit lost for what to really speak about today, but I'm trying to get so that I'm doing my journal fairly regular. It's, like I said in an earlier one, it's more for me to refer back to, really, but you know, anyone that has interest on my crappy life, then you're more than welcome to check me out and stuff, you know. I've got more exciting channels than this one. This is, like I say, a personal channel. I don't know if you can just check my other channels from my YouTube or whatever, but I do a music channel called All Dirty Jackson, so if you like your hip hop and stuff, check that one out. But anyway, and also I haven't uploaded on there for a while, but I have got some things to come. That's one thing I can speak about. So, like I say, I haven't done no music for a while. I've been a bit busy trying to fight to see my little girl, basically. So it's taken up all my spare time, and on top of that, I've been having issues with noisy neighbours, and because I can just crank the music up and out blast them, it's me that's getting into bother, basically, you know. Not that I've done it for a while, you know, because like I say, I got a warning, so I thought I'd better chill out, you know, before I end up homeless as well. So anyway, so what I did want to speak about were because of the things I've been going through, uh, particularly anyway, but also, I mean, I kind of a little bit were into this stuff anyway, but more so since I've been fighting to see my little girl. I mean, I shouldn't really use the word fighting, but that's how society sees it, you know, like I'm basically having to go to court and all that jabber jabber. Basically, so due to that, I've ended up I've really gotten into Stoic philosophy. Now that has really helped my psyche getting through what I'm currently going through. That's fairly recent. I didn't really know what it even were prior to what I'm going through, and I've really found that's helped. But I'm kind of, what's the word? I sort of understood a little bit about spirituality and things like that, but I'd say I'm getting more in tune to it. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or because of pressures in life or what, but going back to when I was a kid, basically my parents had totally different views on like how do you even describe it? Different views on religion, I would say, and religious type views. So, long story short, my mum is Christian. She believes in Christianity and believes in God and things like that. I wouldn't say she's hardcore. She's not a regular church goer or anything, but that's her belief. Um, I think she prays and things like that. But like I say, she's not like committed Christian where they go to church every Sunday or all that. But she does have faith and she follows it. Now my dad, he were more scientific minded. Um, I don't know, you know, whether or not he believes in the Big Bang Theory and all that sort of stuff, but growing up, um, I mean, my parents separated when I was 6, but I've got influence from both of them in general on things like this. So my dad had sort of tell me from a scientific point of view on on what he sort of thought. He never really bombarded me with like his views or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? and neither did my mum, to be fair. You know, they both allowed me to make my own decisions in life. Um, but growing up with those two uh, polar opposites, I guess, you know, on views of the world, basically, you know, I've ended up making my own kind of mind up, I guess, and I can't say I'm fully made up on what I believe, you know. Uh, basically, I remember several years back coming up with a theory that like all religions and science and stuff are all talking about the same thing, which, you know, it was just something. At the time, I thought I were a genius and that I'd thought it up, but obviously other people think on that same wavelength. But basically, going back to what I mean by I've been getting more in tune with spirituality, I've been watching a few things what other YouTubers have put up, and can't remember can't remember names and channels, so I apologise for that for the people that have put this information out there. But like something I was watching earlier, particularly, you know, earlier on today, basically was this fellow was saying, so basically when life is going negative, for example, uh, you have to shift your mentality to the positive and things, you know. Now, granted, it can be hard to do sometimes, but I do agree to a certain extent. I think that in the past that has helped me. Before I followed this stuff, um, about a decade or so, maybe a little longer now back, I fell into a bit of a deep depression, and at the time I was dwelling on a lot of my own mistakes really in life, you know. But back then, I was blaming the outside world for a lot of my problems, and you know, how do I explain? That kept me locked into that mentality, right? And it seemed as if every day I got up, something else terrible would happen. And eventually, the way I got out of that situation were nothing particularly happened to make me happy again. I just, because at the time I'd stopped going out my flat and everything, you know, I just pretty much give up, and I started to have health issues because, you know, like, I truly believe that if you think negatively and stuff, it affects your health, you know. And basically, so I started to have all these health issues on top of feeling down all the time. And eventually I got so down within myself that I started to, like, I forced myself basically to appreciate the small things in life, such as nature and just being alive and having my family and things like that. You know, I mean, that's a big thing, to be fair. But, you know, the things that you take for granted in life, you know, I started to pay more attention to and to appreciate. And still do. I mean, still, even when I'm on a good roll nowadays, I tend to try not to forget that stuff. And where I currently live, I'm quite lucky. I live by the coast, in a really beautiful area. We have beautiful nature, especially in the area that I live, because I'm in a quiet part of the town. So we've got like a lot of greenery, and we different times of the year we'll get different species. So like, you know, we get like squirrels, hedgehogs, and all that kind of stuff. We get different birds. This year I've seen magpies, and I've even seen a robin really early on. Um, and I think that was in October I saw the robin. and most of the year round we get seagulls. You know, they're quite common. Um, where I was born originally, our native bird in the area were like pigeons, basically. Now, I appreciate pigeons as well. To be fair, you know, like you know, a lot of people see them as like a flying rat, but basically, even a rat, you know, they're a creature, and that, you know, they do amazing things. Not that's not to say that I'd go like picking them up and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But like, you know, I appreciate them being there. And you know, I'm sure that if you studied them, you'd find them quite interesting. You know, same with pigeons, for example, and again seagulls. Now, where I live, people take the seagulls for granted. You know, locals round here who have lived here all their life see them as vermin, and you know, I hear people all the time saying that they hate them and that they'd kill them, and you know, all that kind of stuff. But I really do appreciate nature. Um, Now, I've got to be careful what I say about my situation with my daughter because it's an ongoing court case. So, you know, I can't go into details on my case at the moment. It's unfortunate that it's in the situation that it's in. As things stand, I haven't seen my daughter for about 10 months, which absolutely, you know, no matter how positive I try to be, that is heartbreaking, and it's heartbreaking for any parent. But I'm positive in the sense of I know that I'm going to see her again. I'm going to make sure of that in my life, you know, and I want to be involved in her life as a father. Um, so that's hence why I'm going for access basically in the courts, you know. Um, Also, I know I haven't done anything wrong to stop being involved with my daughter, you know, because I've just basically I've tried to be there and tried to be a dad, and I've been pushed out at every opportunity. Uh, a good example is I've never even had the opportunity to put my daughter to bed, or anything like that, you know. Even when I was still with my partner at the time, you know, 'cause we were together when she was born. Broke up shortly after because of complications between me and my ex-partner. Like again, I can't go into the details, but I've just been pushed out basically. Long story short, from my point of view. Um, and even so, even you know, even after the relationship broke down, I've still been trying to be involved in my daughter's life, and I feel I've obviously done my ex's head in. Can't go into the details as to why, but you know, she's basically gotten fed up of me, basically, you know, trying to be there for me kid. So yeah, here we are, shut out, blah blah blah. And I will just say, I had my concerns about my daughter's health, safety and well-being, you know, and that's what's led up to my situation basically. Um, but I feel that in my position, any father would have been the same. So basically, here we are. I've since having a little girl, I've done a lot of positive steps in my own life. Because prior to having a little girl, me and my ex partner just used to sit around smoking weed all the time, you know, and I can't, like I say, I can't mention what she's doing because for one, I don't know. I can only speak for myself. But I've been trying to better my life. So what I've been doing is first of all, I kicked the habit. I'm about to kick nicotine as well. That's my next personal goal. Um, and basically, I joined not necessarily a rehab, but like a group that helps with addiction, basically. Now, by the time I got into the group, I'd already overcome my habit. You know, like I was about 8 months into not using when I got in there. So what they've done is they've sort of like they've skipped the initial habit section out with me, and they've got me on this like anti-relapse thing, so that you know it's helping me not to relapse. But for me personally, it's really, I just enjoy the social life of it, because like in recent years I haven't had the best of social lives. So for me it's nice just to get out and speak to people, basically, you know, and things like that. And then anyway, through that, I then there were a lady who came in one day and she was signing people up to this other course. And I thought it was a cooking course, actually, because I thought I'd like to learn to cook, because that's another thing. Like, I mean, I'm sure I can talk about this. Me ex doesn't really cook; she just lives off takeaways, and because of that, I wanted to. You know, I don't cook. The only time I were, you know, throughout my use as a cannabis smoker, I was basically living off of sandwiches, which is better than takeaways, but it's not ideal for a child. So anyway, I figured, you know, that's one of my other goals, is I need to learn how to cook and cook healthy food, because I want when I do get some seeing my daughter, I I want to be able to A, cook her healthy meals, and B, as she gets older, I'd like to teach her, you know, that stuff. My mum's an absolutely banging cook, so I plan to learn a load of my mum's stuff, particularly her Sunday dinners, you know. So I need to basically start getting up to my mum's house on a Sunday and like cooking with her, basically, because I don't want, when my mum finally passes, I mean, touch wood, I don't want her to go anytime soon. You know, I absolutely adore my mum. But when my mum finally passes, I'd like to know her recipes for food, and then it's not just lost. Do you know what I mean? And then I can pass that on to my little girl and stuff like that. Um, so anyway, I'm ranting on, aren't I? But back to the spirituality thing. Basically, so I've learned that, and I kind of in a way already, I think I already knew to an extent. But basically, yeah. So you shift your thought patterns to positive, basically. Now that's not to say that you can't just stay in a positive frame of mind all the time, because you get positive and negative polarity in every aspect of life. So you're always going to have ups and you're always going to have downs, right? But if you can shift to a more positive sort of mentality about it, it's hard to explain, but basically you'll reap the rewards from that, you know, and even when stuff goes bad, you you know that you've got control over your own destiny in that sense, if that makes sense. So anyway, there was something else I wanted to mention about all that. There was something I'd learned earlier. That were it. About matter and stuff. Basically, I didn't know this. I've just learnt it tonight. So, as far as, and I haven't checked it up. It's just going off a guy on YouTube. So I need to look more into it. But basically, as far as I'm aware, all matter is actually what's the word? It's sort of an illusion, basically. So physical things are something like, I can't remember the percentage, but a certain percentage of nothingness, and it's what you perceive them to be. And this ties into the spirituality thing, because it's like, again, shifting your reality to understand that and stuff. So I wish I could remember the dude's video, to be honest, to give the guy a shout out. I might put it in the description if I can find it again. So anyway, yeah, so it got me thinking a little bit, you know, that because going back to when I was in my depressed state, I remember when I pulled myself out of that, shortly afterwards I went on a family holiday over to Caribbean, and I was still a bit fragile mentally at the time, and I remember I met this dude called David. I just know him as David. I don't know anything else about it. He was a Spanish guy, so he probably weren't even called David. But he happened to speak English. He was one of the very few people that spoke English on the island that I visited, or at least that I met, you know. And basically, because I were actually trying to learn Spanish whilst I was there, and I think the locals appreciated that actually. Like I didn't take a phone or anything, so I was just running around with like a little pen and paper, pen and like a little booklet, and I was just like getting people to write out translations as and when we could and things like that. And I sucked, to be honest, but I think that they appreciated the fact that I was trying, you know what I mean? And some people struggled with the English too, so it was quite hard to get the right translation sometimes. But anyway, long story short, this dude, he was like a tattooist, I think, like a tattooist out on the street. Not the, you know, I didn't want no tattoos from the guy, don't get me wrong, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm sure, I mean, he weren't on the street, he was actually on the beach. But I think that's what he was doing. He had like a little stall there and he would just sort of sat, you know, waiting for people for a tattoo, basically. And I got talking to him because I still used cannabis at the time, and he, you know, I can't remember if I could smell him smoking a joint or if how I got talking to him, but I got talking to him, you know, and it turned out you know, he liked to smoke and stuff. So I ended up spending a bit of time just chilling, talking to this dude, and he was a really cool guy, you know, funny dude as well, you know, and he spoke good English, you know. I remember him telling me like, you know, he was supporting his family off of what he did and everything. He had like 7 kids or something. And he started showing me his tattoos. You know, he had tattoos with his children's faces and stuff on his arm and that. And anyway, I was just randomly talking to him one day, and these two chicas walked past. They call them chicas in Spanish, and they said something to him in Spanish, but I didn't have a clue what was being said, you know. I just noticed these 2 hot chicas walk past, you know. And anyway, once they walked on a little bit, it was like, oh, you know, that chica on the left or whatever liked you, you know. Me, me being me, I absolutely love liking women. I was like, oh, no way, I'm going to chase that up, you know. And he's like, yeah, do. So I can't remember if I went straight up to her or if I waited until I like next saw her basically, or what, you know. But I ended up speaking to her, and she did. She genuinely liked me, you know. And I think I arranged to meet her later on the evening when I spoke to her, because she spoke a little English, well, quite good English as it turned out. But yeah, and she turned out to be from Chile, and I remember thinking to myself after I'd like arranged to meet her that, if you know, when basically going back in my mind here to when I was dwelling on shit, that I'd like wasted all that time dwelling on shit, because you never know what's around the corner if you put yourself out there. And so anyway, I met this lass, went for couple of drinks with her and things like that. I ended up taking her back to a hotel room and everything, and I thought I was getting lucky, to be quite honest. I literally had her in bed, ready to go. And next thing, a friend who she was with walked in. So we just stopped what we were doing, but, you know, I had a couple of kisses and said goodbye and whatnot, and arranged to meet the next day. And she actually opened up to me when I next met her. She told me, she was like, she'd basically planned that with a friend, you know, because obviously, you know, she don't know who I am or anything, you know. So she'd planned that if she took me back to the hotel room, a friend was gonna do that, you know, to stop anything from going on if necessary. Basically, she was dick teasing. Long story short. But anyway, I ended up just throughout the whole time, because I was there for about a month. So like, and I think she was there for roughly the same sort of amount of time. And then we just ended up sort of hanging out and being like boyfriend and girlfriend, but we never actually slept together. And it was quite nice, really, because you know, the last that I had a child to, for example, dropped her pants as soon as she turned up. You know, so basically, I knew, you know, obviously I met her later on in life, but well, actually, I met her in school, but got with her later on in life. But you know, it's kind of woman she is, basically. So anyway, this Spanish lass, she were a bit more respectable than that, and I liked that, to be fair. You know, like, you know, I'd rather have a respectable lass than a lass that just sort of gives you everything in one go. And so anyway, I ended up, when I came back to England, I ended up speaking to this lass for well over a year, probably a year and a half or so, maybe even longer than that. I can't quite remember, but you know, like, we used to video call fairly regular and things, because she lived in Chile and I lived in England. But we had plans to actually meet and, you know, do something together. You know, we weren't sure on what we were going to do as such, like where we were going to be and things like that. We discussed a few different places around the world and things like that. So anyway, there were a point, I can't quite remember how we stopped talking, but I upset her. Number one, I was smoking too much weed, and I couldn't lie to her. I kept on being honest about it, and she didn't like that. You know, she was very, I think she were quite a strict Catholic, to be quite honest, because they tend to be in that part of the world, you know. And yeah, she didn't like it. She understood it, but she didn't like it, you know. And because I kept on saying I'm going to do it, and I just didn't, and I think I upset her, and we stopped talking for a while. And then basically, I think maybe another year had gone by, and I just randomly sent her a message, and she seemed really happy to hear from me. So we started talking again, but by this point, I didn't really think anything were sort of going anywhere. And you know, but we were just communicating by this point, you know, nothing more than that, you know. Whereas in before, we'd send each other adult photos and things like that, you know, just whenever we were in that mood and things. And basically, what is it? I think that's when I met my baby mama, basically, somewhere around, well, like I say, I met her in school initially, but I lost track of her for years, you know, and I knew, how do I explain? I knew her in primary school and in secondary school, but I left that secondary school at like 14, so you know, I lost track of her. But my memories of her were a little bit cloudy, maybe. And basically, I knew there was something about her, but I didn't know what, right? And basically, how do I explain it? As the relationship progressed, when we started seeing each other, I soon realised that I'm sure I didn't like her. When I was in school, I thought she was a bit of an idiot or something. But at the time when I started chatting to her, I didn't know that. I couldn't quite remember. I was thinking, did I like this lass? But, you know, because she was good looking and stuff. Particularly in her younger days. She's looking more haggard nowadays, but it is what it is. I do too. So anyway, she turned up at my door, and like I say, she dropped her pants instantly. Which obviously didn't really gain much respect from me by doing that, but I went for it anyway because at the time I hadn't had the business in a while, so being a man, I'd go for it, you know. So yeah, we had good fun in that sense. But yeah, anyway, following week after that happened, she dragged her kids through here, and they were only like 8 and 13, which I didn't like the fact that she'd done that. There's a lot of things that she'd done involving her kids, and I just didn't agree with much of it. But like I say, I can't go into the details. But basically, so she was dragging her kids around to meet new fellas, basically, which I don't think that's good for my child either. I don't want her to be doing that with my child as she's growing up. But there's no stopping what someone's going to do. Do you know what I mean? All I can do is be the best that I can be in that sense. So anyway, so we were, I'll just use the term banging each other, right? And at the beginning of the relationship, she was like overly nice to me. Like she would try to like shower me with gifts and just be really nice and things like that. And just like she just claimed that she loved me basically. Now, in my mind, I've lived a lot during those years, and I was just thinking, you don't know what love is basically, in my mind. But obviously, like this is where I went wrong because I was telling her that I loved her when I knew I didn't. So I hold my hand up there. Definitely regret doing that now. But basically, one, the sex were good, so I were enjoying the sex. And two, I knew I wanted to get rid of her. Does that make sense? Like I were trying to end the relationship, but I were also trying to be nice about it. And I left it too long, and I ended up, getting her pregnant, basically. She was saying to me that she didn't want, she couldn't use contraception because she was allergic to literally everything you can imagine, which I knew were a load of shit, but whatever, And now that I know what I know, when I look back, I think she was just trying to have a baby, basically. Long story short. In fact, when the relationship broke down, I actually said that to her, and it sent her absolutely nuts. But yeah, realistically, that's all she wanted. From my point of view, at least, that's what I think she wanted, or know she wanted. Because, like I say, as soon as she got pregnant, her attitude changed, and she just became real nasty with me then, to the point that I just couldn't cope with her, And so yeah, anyway, so try to remember where I am here. So that all broke down and stuff, and for a while we were sort of amicable, but like I say, I mean, she were just a different person, really. So it were getting more and more difficult, and I could see, to be honest, that it were going to lead to where it is now, eventually. I would just try to, like, I guess, drag things out because I didn't want to miss any time with my little girl by this point. But going back to when we were seeing each other, I took her up to my mum's house, thinking, oh, my mum will never get on with this person, you know. uh, and like, so I introduced her to my mum, thinking, because I was going to use it as an excuse. I was going to be like, well, if you can't get on with my mum, then we can't be together. And anyway, they seemed to get on, and I was like, thinking, oh, bloody hell. So, like I said, time went on, and I eventually just got caught up, and it was just a bit silly, really. But I don't regret for a moment having my little girl. You know, she's the most amazing experience I've ever had, is having a little girl. I think I've probably mentioned in another video. First time I held her, it just blew my mind, man. You know, like she opened her eyes for the first time in my arms, and it just, I can't explain how beautiful that were. The most beautiful moment I've ever had in my life, basically. And you know, it just really, it made me realise that, you know, being a dad is what I'd always wanted, but I didn't know until I had a child. In fact, I used to be against being a dad at one stage, you know, like years ago. I used to be like, I don't want to be a dad, you know, I don't want to be a parent, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as I had a child, I realised, you know, what I've been missing here. Do you know what I mean? Because it's wonderful, and just everything about seeing my little girl is just amazing. Um, Now, unfortunately, I'm missing out on certain things because contact was seized just when my little girl was just about to start walking and just about to start talking. So I've basically missed her first steps and her first words, basically. But she was getting to the point where she could walk if you helped her when I last saw her, which were amazing. I mean, I've got photos of me holding her at that stage. But I'm just absolutely smitten with my little girl, so I don't regret for a second that situation, you know. I do regret who I had a child with, but, you know, it's done, basically. But there's plenty of women that it could have been that would have been more suited, you know, to have a child with, basically. But it is what it is, and we're in this situation. So anyway, long story short, when I went to court, again, I can't say too much, can I? But basically, when I went to court, I attended and my ex-partner didn't attend. Long story short, and I think, going off what the judge said, she couldn't understand why I'm not able to see my child, and neither can I, to be quite honest. And basically, with a bit of luck, as long as it doesn't go into like a he said, she said scenario, basically, hopefully, and everybody's got to be in agreement, hopefully we can get the case wrapped up in February coming. So I'm trying to keep positive for that, because I want, main thing for me is, well, there's a few main things. I know that my daughter's safe and well looked after, which is how we ended up in this place in the first place, or in this position. And second of all, I want to be involved in a life, you know, like a normal dad, basically. So things like, I want to know school situation, because personally I don't think she's been to play school or nursery yet, both of which are things that I wanted her in. um, and you know, I get no information whatsoever about how she's doing. Although since the case, she has now got to give me, I think they call it indirect contact. So she has to give me like some photographs through her solicitor once a month, which is, it's lovely to see them, but it's not enough. And basically, I'm allowed to send gifts to my daughter now once a month, basically, um, because of that, you know, that last case, or last hearing, sorry. Um, but hopefully it's going to get wrapped up. As long as my ex is in agreement for the next hearing, then it'll get wrapped up and I can see my little girl again. And anyway, uh, I mean, I'm going to say my opinion. I don't think I got enough of a gag order for my opinion, but the way that things have gone, if anything, it should have been the other way around. It should have been her fighting for access, if you want my opinion. But obviously, everyone's got their own opinion, and it is what it is. So, being the man and everything, I know they say it's equal rights, but it's really not. The whole situation has been a massive struggle. Um, you know, even just getting it to court has been a massive struggle. I've missed a year of my daughter's life by the time February comes around, and she's only 2, so I've missed half of her life already, basically. And so yeah, moving on. So I don't just want to ramble on about that situation, because I keep on doing on my videos and I don't mean to, but that's the only thing holding me back in life right now. So moving on, through me Horizons thing that I'm going to, I went on, like I say, I went on this thing that I thought was a cooking course, and when I got there, it turned out it was like an adult learning, like an open day, you know, kind of similar to when you go to college for an open day. And there were all these different courses there. So I've ended up signing near enough everything going. I'm actually waiting to hear back. I were expecting to hear back sooner, and I've had Horizons chase it up for me, basically. But so I've put in for security badge, because that's worth having. Plus, I have a job lined up if I have that. You know, I know a guy who works doors and can get me working the doors with him and stuff. No, I'm not very massive, but I am trying to work on my fitness, so we'll deal with that. Plus, where the doors are, it couldn't be an easier job. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like in a rough part or anything. It's local where I live, which is just full of little idiots, basically, that, you know, couldn't harm a fly if they tried, sort of thing. It might be the odd one that could, but you know, generally speaking, it's more talk than anything else where I live. And CSCS card. Back when I used to work before, it was CSCS card that prevented me from working, because I was doing like those kind of trade type jobs back then. So that'll be handy for me. I want to do my maths and my English, improve them, more for personal reasons, but there's courses for that, so I thought I'll sign up to that as well, you know, get better math and English. My maths not too bad in the sense of like I can measure up and work out angles, but I'm not, you know, I want to improve on other parts of math, particularly stuff like division on, you know, on multiple scales. So you like when you got to divide like 4 or 5 different things at once and things like that, you know, I really could do with help there. My English, I've noticed it's actually improved since school a lot, because I've educated myself, but I've noticed that my spelling and my grammar needs some tuning and stuff. And then I want to do the cooking course as well, for being able to cook for my little girl, and also to eat healthier myself really as well. So yeah, these are all things I'm going to be doing in the future. Um, I won't be able to do them all in one go. I don't think. It'd just be too much because I'd be every single day doing a different course. That's if they even coincide like that. More than likely are on the same days sometimes. So yeah, doing those. I have plans. I were already doing this. I was waking up and I was doing so many sit-ups and so many press-ups. Um, like particularly when I was stopping using my cannabis. So I've fallen out of routine with it though. So I need to get back into that, especially since I'm going to be stopping smoking. Uh, Tomorrow actually, I'm supposed. Is it tomorrow? No, the 10th. The 10th I put down. So next Wednesday. What it were is I went to a stopping smoking thing, where they help you with it, and they asked me if I had a date in mind, and I was saying I don't have a date in mind, but I want to be so I'm not craving cigs next year, basically. Not in a New Year's resolution sort of manner, but like I just want to be off the fags by then, basically. And so I'm not really thinking about it. And whilst I was talking to her, she's mentioned something about the 10th, and I never said nothing, but I just thought in my head, I'm going to make, that'll be my date, I'll just go with the 10th. So that's what I'm planning on at the moment. Knock fags on the head on 10th of December. Did I say it was November? Yeah, we're in December, sorry, my bad. So anyway, what else were I going to say now? So yeah, there's that I'm going to do. And like I say, I'm going to get back into my routine of waking up and doing press-ups and sit-ups, and going to learn some other like exercises to do at home and stuff. And then also I've got a heavyweight punch bag which is, I don't keep it at my property. I have to physically go somewhere to do it. But I've been intending to like particularly learn a couple of martial art or combatants. Number one I want to do is Krav Maga, because a couple of reasons. Obviously it's a self-defense thing, but Krav Maga was set up for like training soldiers in the field. So like say if you're gonna send a soldier to war in 2 weeks, 4 weeks or whatever, it trains them up in that period of time. So I'm planning on doing that because it'll get me trained up fairly quickly. Although modern day Krav Maga, they've turned into a belt system similar to karate, like white belt, blah blah blah, and I'm trying to skip all that. What I'm going to do is I found a course what does that, not in my town but fairly local, and I need to show up there, and I'm just going to say to them, look, I'm not interested in the belt system. I just want to learn Krav Maga as the way that it's intended, even if I have to tell them I'm off to Ukraine or something, go fight in Ukraine, which I don't plan to, obviously. I'll just be like, I need this training, I need it quick, sort of thing. Because I just want to get trained up in it, so I know what I'm doing. So basically, yeah, there's that, and then I also plan to learn Silat, which is I'm not sure on the legality of it in my country, but I know that it's a fairly I'll use the word effective martial art, and basically I did learn where it had come from. It begins with an M, I think. Malaysia, I think it comes from, and yeah, it's more like effective than most of the martial arts out there. I think it's the most effective actually, because I'm not interested in how do I say it, doing this for sport. I'm more interested in doing it for actual self-defense reasons. Um, Basically, about 2 to 3 years ago, I had a guy kick off with me with a baseball bat, um, and I actually recorded it on my phone when it happened. Uh, but that were my only way of thinking at the time, because I didn't know what to do. The guy was twice my size, had a baseball bat, and he was all in my face and all that. But had I have had that training, I'd have known exactly what to do. But like I say, I had no fear about it, because as soon as he threatened me with a baseball bat, he instantly shrunk to about this size. Do you know what I mean? Even though he overtowered me, just for the fact that he felt the need to threaten me with a baseball bat made me think, well, you're this big. And then after the incident, I completely lost my respect for the guy. Before that, I used to actually say hello to him and stuff in the street. You know what I mean? And he used to be all right with me and stuff. But yeah, like I say, from that moment, I just saw him as this big. Do you know what I mean? And that's what got my interest in the whole combatants thing. I thought, I'm going to learn combatants now. And then that way, I don't plan to go around pushing my weight around, but like, I just know then I can look after myself in a situation like that. So, um, plus it keeps you fit. Do you know what I mean? If you're training every day and things like that, it keeps you fit. So that's another reason I want to go into that. Plus, it'd be something I would. I mean, I don't want to create a bully, but like, it's something that I would teach my daughter as she's growing up, because women can be quite vulnerable in the street and things, particularly in today's world. I mean, out, every day on the news there's people being stabbed nowadays and things like that. And not only that, like I say, I can't go into details, but certain things have happened at my daughter's home along the lines of this, which is why I'm concerned, basically. So, again, another reason why it's an interest to me, and why I want to learn these things, so I can protect myself and my family, basically, in a situation like that. And also, I'd like to share the knowledge with my little girl as she grows up, and my nieces as well, because my nieces are equally as vulnerable. Well, not quite, but as they're getting older, they will be. However, my oldest niece is already sort of fully game for doing it. She's about to turn 5, and like I say, on my punch bag, you want to see her go. She gives it all she's got, basically, Um, and it is quite cute to see her do it, But yeah, I just want, like, I keep the. Like I say, I don't plan to go pushing my weight around at the same time, but it's a must. It's something that society's getting more and more dangerous, and I want to be a proper protective dad. Like, I want to be able to know that I can protect my kids. And when I say my kids, I mean my kid and my nieces, from any violent sort of actions going on in the world, and also myself, because the great thing about Krav Maga is it trains you in exactly that stuff. So knife attacks, gun attacks, just general weapons. You learn how to deal with it in a hand-to-hand combat way. So yeah, focusing on stuff like that. And like I say, I'm getting off the fags, and I'm just going to start getting healthy. I don't plan to be some idiot bodybuilder that's, oh, look at me, do you know what I mean? None of that. I just plan to keep my ego where it's at, and yeah, just get cracking basically. So yeah, I think that's enough for today's journal. I just wanted to do a bit of a a bit of an update to my journals, because I'm trying to get them fairly regular. I'm not necessarily going to do them every day, but just whenever new good and bad stuff has happened in life and things like that. So I just plan to do a bit of just update every other day, every week. Just depends on what exactly's gone on. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, trying to steer away from my family issues, you know, that I'm going through, because I know the world don't need to hear my shit. And basically, like I say, at the moment I've got gagging orders anyway because of the court system. But I will, you know, one thing I'm going to promise you is, if you do watch my channel and you stay tuned, I am going to expose everything that has gone on when I'm allowed to, because I feel dads are very vulnerable in the court system when it comes to seeing their children, and women just can walk all over them and do what they like with almost no consequences, or it seems like no consequences. So I will be exposing certain things. Not about the courts as such. I feel that the courts themselves have actually, touch wood, been quite good to me so far, right? But there's other agencies involved that do need certain exposure, and there's women's behaviour that needs exposure. Now, after I finish my court cases and I'm able to see my little girl, I plan to support that Dads for Justice thing, because I think that basically it's so one-sided. So I will be sort of doing that kind of activism. Rubbish with, you know, pronunciation sometimes, but and I'm not going to be like one of these idiots walking the streets with banners or nothing, but I will support that stuff, and I'll even donate to that kind of stuff, you know, in the future, basically. So I feel that needs some real support. I wish I were in a more powerful position to actually help with that movement, but I'm not a powerful person at all. You know, you know, if I got off on my high horse and started shouting from rooftops, nobody would care anyway. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just a little update, and I'll catch you in the next one. So one love to everybody. Peace.